The views and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of its participants and do not reflect the views and opinions of any employer, MSP, sponsor, advertiser, or vendor. Hey everybody, welcome back to an All Things MSP Live. It's an early one and it's probably going to be a short one tonight. I've got some other things I've got to do, and so, this is what we get. Anyway, I did want to update everybody on a couple of things, and we'll do that a little bit later. But I also, we need to do sponsor announcements, so we'll go ahead and get to those real quick. Are you struggling to keep up with ever-changing compliance requirements for your clients? Would you rather monetize that work? Introducing ComplianceScorecard.com, your go-to solution for simplifying compliance management. ComplianceScorecard.com helps you stay ahead of regulations by providing a comprehensive dashboard to track, manage, and report on your compliance status. With real-time updates, automated assessments, and easy-to-understand reports, you'll spend less time worrying about compliance and more time growing your business. Don't let compliance slow you down. Visit atmsp.link/compliance scorecard today and take control of your client's compliance process. That's a lot of words all there in one place. But anyway, it's atmsp.link/compliance scorecard. And they're just making compliance easy for MSPs. So go ahead and check them out. And also, in addition to Compliance Scorecard, things are frozen. So anyway, MoveBot. MoveBot is another sponsor of All Things MSP. And, they're a great choice if you need to move cloud data, files, or emails from one place to another. They're probably the easiest way, and based on their technology, one of the fastest ways to get data from point A to point B, especially when you're talking about a cloud to cloud migration. So check them out. It's atmsp.link/MoveBot. Again, that's atmsp.link/MoveBot. Okay, well, nothing like technical issues to start out the show. Anyway, I did say that I wanted to bring you guys up to date on something, and that something is we've talked about peer groups a little bit off and on in this community, and still not sure that we're going to do peer groups, although we got a lot of great feedback from the group that volunteered to kind of do a brainstorming session with me. Now, what came out of that brainstorming session is that this should probably start out and grow organically. And so what we're going to do to facilitate that process is we are going to do not a peer group first, but we're going to do more of a forum. And so what we're going to do there is we're actually going to schedule a more webinar type of larger forum. I'm going to advertise it. It'll be open to everyone. And we're going to start covering topics there, but not in the way that we do on a live stream or a podcast where we bring in just a guest and we talk about that topic. We're actually going to go out and we're going to invite people to join in the webinar process so that we can actually bring people to a discussion rather than just a presentation. Because I think that's what we kind of decided from the brainstorming is missing, right? We're missing the discussion aspect of this community. And yes, we can do it through the Facebook group, and that's where we've done it in the past, but it's a little more interactive when you do it live and in person. So we are working on the webinar platform for doing that. And hopefully from that, we will figure out how to do peer groups and what peer groups we want to start. Because I don't want to, I guess for the lack of a better word, force this. I want to make sure that we're doing it in a way where it grows according to the way the group wants this to grow. And that's exactly what I want to do. So That's what we're going to do. We're going to do some of those forum type discussions first before we venture into peer groups. And we're going to see how that goes. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be very interactive. I will schedule them far enough in advance that you will have plenty of time to put them on your calendar. They will be registered events. I will not, however, be selling any of those registrations to the vendors who sponsor this channel, just so that you guys know you can sign up without fear of that email address getting out. If I ever do something like that, where we host a webinar for a vendor or something like that, I will let you know in advance, full transparency, that yes, when you register for this webinar, you are going to get your email address forwarded on to a vendor for that specific webinar. But again, for these forums, I'm not going to do that. They will continue to be something that you can interact with without fear of having your email address getting out there. The reason why I need you to register, though, is so that I can actually bring you into the live stream and have a more panel-like discussion. Now, in the interest of it being completely transparent, right, we will be streaming it live to all the platforms that we normally stream to. That means Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. And you will be able to participate on the ones where the chat actually works with StreamYard. And so you'll be able to interact via the chat, but I won't be able to bring you into the program. And that's really the goal, is to bring lots of people into the program so that we can actually do this as a community, rather than just having me and a guest, or me and a couple of guests up here talking about a specific topic. All right, so those are kind of the announcements for tonight. We do have, it is Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and so we did a podcast with Wayne Selk that dropped earlier this week. That and the podcast with Arlen Sorensen, you should probably check out too. That was a fun one as well. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. No, there's some more stuff. There's some more fun stuff coming. We're going to be launching some other opportunities to do some video, a lot of other stuff. Oh, I should say, we did launch the masterclass on how to get started in marketing for your MSP. I did that with Tim Fitzpatrick from Rialto Marketing. It really walks you through the process of taking a look at your existing clients to see who your best types of clients are, figuring that out in more detail by actually interviewing those clients so that you even get more data. And one of the really cool things I think he does is takes that data and shows you how to feed it into ChatGPT to get insights into it that you may not have thought of. And so that's really cool. And then he takes it all the way to the end, where he starts talking about, okay, you have that data now. Now what you need to do is start working on your messaging. And so he walks you through the initial steps of getting your messaging in place so that you can start using that messaging across your different marketing content that you're going to do. Okay. Haven't talked about how to do marketing content yet, but I'm sure that we're going to have that sometime soon. That is something I'm looking for a subject matter expert on. Of course, I can probably do some of the video part and some of the things, but it's much more fun to have a guest subject matter expert to do that. Speaking of subject matter experts, if you saw the sales funnel masterclass that I did with Tim Coach, the one for MSPs is out. So that's on the YouTube channel. You can check that out. And if you're not familiar, it's youtube.com/@ all things MSP. Okay. And Tim and I are going to be doing a second set of masterclasses on the vendor side of doing a sales funnel in this industry. We have that coming up pretty soon. And so look forward to that as well. Okay. So I did want to tonight just kind of as something to do, as something fun, is to go through some Reddit posts because they're relevant to the industry. It gives us something for us to talk about. And if you're here, do want to talk about it. So make sure that you let me know in the chat that you are here so that we can have a discussion about this. All right, let me go ahead. Need to go ahead and share a Chrome tab. There we go. Sorry, I lost my my StreamYard window there. You would think with 4 monitors, this would not be hard to do. All right, so let me go ahead and bring that up. Oh, that's not readable. Let's find a better format for the screen here. There we go. Hopefully that's better. I did zoom in quite a bit. Let me see. Nope, that one's not going to work. Just trying to figure out the best format here. There we go. I think that's the best. Okay. So let me bring mine up so I can actually read it. So it says, good morning, all. This is a marketing one. I'm new to the MSP space, started the company back in March, and I'm actively supporting a couple of clients already. My question for all of you is, how do you go about finding new clients aside from referrals? Are there specific places that advertising works better for you than others? Do you cold call or do flyer drops or anything like that? I'm generally curious how you all drum up new business. Currently, I'm cold calling and emailing, but it feels like I'm talking to a wall a lot of the time. So cold calling and emailing is a volume game. I'm just going to say that. You really need to be doing a lot of calling and a lot of emailing, or you need to be very targeted. Okay. Because I'm going to guess that you're cold calling and you're emailing with a very generic message. And this is one of the things that Tim and I covered in that masterclass on how to get started with your MSP marketing is taking, that information that you gather from your ideal clients and translating that into very specific messaging that's going to resonate with very specific target prospects. So that's something that I think you really want to take a look at. Hold on just a second. Okay. I was getting some kind of message from StreamYard. I don't know. You guys tell me, was my video cutting out or anything like that? Hopefully not. Oh, I see. Interesting. Okay, well, we're going to continue on. So when it comes to marketing, you can throw a wide net, or you can be very targeted in your marketing. And typically, when you start out, if you don't have a lot of time and you don't have a lot of money, and you already have clients, so you're already servicing some clients, what I would say is that you do need to get very targeted with your marketing. And so going through those 3 sessions that Tim and I did would be very helpful. There are worksheets included in those sessions to help you get started. So definitely something that you may, want to take advantage of. Now you're doing cold calling, you're doing emailing. I like not doing flyer drops, but doing shock and awe boxes instead. Okay. So shock and awe boxes are basically a box with some of the same information that you would have in a brochure. But in this case, it's more of a kind of a gift box with some other things in it. So we used to put some candy in it. We used to put testimonial letters in it, little tchotchkes if we had them at the time, mouse pads with our logo on them, that kind of thing. Those typically work very well. And when I like to use those is when I am at another client and say they're in a small strip mall or, in an area with other businesses. I'll actually have them already in the vehicle and I will take them and go next door for 2 or 3 doors down. And if, again, don't just hand them out to everybody, hand them out specifically to clients that may be in your ideal client profile. But what you do is when you go in, you actually mention, hey, I was down the street, whatever, down 2 doors down, working for XYZ company. And I thought I would just drop in, leave this. This is what we do. And if you ever need somebody to handle that, please let me know. So that's something that, I used to do. It was very effective for me. So that's another thing that you can do instead of a flyer drop. I don't like flyer drops because they get thrown out, right? If you leave a mouse pad, they might keep it. They're definitely probably going to go through the candy. Just make sure it's decent candy, right? So make sure that you're leaving something that there's a good chance that they're going to hold on to or pass to the right person. Okay. Because that's important. In terms of other things, the other thing, I'm going to be honest here. The thing that worked probably best for me was postcards, because you can send them out cheaply. You can send them out in mass, and you can also find different services that will give you the postcard to use every month. I was a Robin Robbins Technology Marketing Toolkit Apprentice Club member, and so I got those materials every month. We printed out the postcards. That worked really well. But the best thing that worked for me was probably a park bench. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds stupid. And likewise, you know how they do have the advertising outside of Walmart on the trash cans? If you have that opportunity, it depends on what the pricing is, obviously. Those can get expensive and not necessarily your target market. But for the park bench, I chose a sports bar that was frequented by a lot of the business owners in town. And so, I mean, you're talking about literally a permanent, like a billboard sitting outside a popular restaurant frequented by my ideal client profile that I paid for, I think, 6 months at a time. And it was relatively inexpensive. I'm talking hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars. Now, of course, this was a while ago, but remember, everybody who walks by that is going to see it. Everybody who goes to lunch there is going to see it. So if you can find an opportunity like that, where it's not a lot of money, but you get a lot of impact, I would definitely say that's an option. But again, for the small MSP who's just starting out, a lot of times you have more time than you have money. So definitely keep up with the cold calling, the emailing. I would just make it more targeted. Now let's see what some of the other people said. It took time to get real traction. That's absolutely true. Cybersecurity is a big one. And here they're doing something else. They're volunteering to speak at different events. Your chambers of commerce and stuff like that will have events and they want expert speakers. A lot of the MSPs that I know today are doing really well with speaking engagements at local chambers of commerce, little trade shows, things like that. We did a couple of small trade shows when I had my MSP, and they actually did work pretty well. Offered in-person or virtual cybersecurity awareness training. This is kind of like back in the day, what we used to do is we would do free assessments, right? And I think the cybersecurity awareness training has a little more impact. And it's easy to do, right? And you can do lots of people at one time, which is kind of cool. And you can get access to more than just one person at a prospective client. And that really helps too, because you can actually get in touch with people who are the decision makers, not just the gatekeepers. And sometimes that can be very helpful. So great idea here um, in this comment. Now, another thing that they mention is if you're going to send out emails, follow up. Okay. Again, also, if you're going to be calling, follow up with an email. Typically in the vendor world, what we do is we put together marketing sequences where you'll call them and you'll have a specific topic, again, targeting. You'll have a topic or something to talk about specific. You don't just want to cold call and say, hey, do you need a new IT person? That's not it. You need to call. And if it's a lawyer, you could say something like, hey, are you having trouble accessing your files remotely? Okay. And you have a solution for that. Or are you having trouble or are you concerned with all of your documents and your contracts and everything being backed up and being able to restore those quickly in the event of some type of breach or disaster or something like that? So be very specific with the person that you're calling. But anyway, we will do a call, an email, a call, an email. Some of the softwares even allow you to do like a LinkedIn message. So again, when you're cold calling, I would actually say cold calling and emailing when you're doing it one-to-one is very similar because the only thing that's changing is your medium, right? Your message is not going to change that much because your goal is to get a meeting, right? And that should be your only goal. You're not trying to sell them anything on a phone call or on an email. What you're trying to do is you're trying to book that first meeting where you can go through and talk about what you do, why you do it, and what the benefit to the client is. So, create those types of sequences. If you're going to do cold calling and email, create a sequence so that you already know what you're doing. So you can just have a list ready. You go pick up the phone, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You contact all of those. They move from this list to the follow up, by email list next. And you just keep moving them down the line. Maybe even use something like Trello to keep track of that because you can probably the Trello free version will allow you to do something like that. And then you can just keep track of where everybody is in your pipeline until you get them down. Of course, that is also what a PSA is going to be used for or some type of CRM system. You can also track a pipeline that way and, some type of sequence that way. Again, Chamber of Commerce meetings. In slow times, I actively target specific companies. Again, targeting, right? We like working with type of client that is construction and manufacturing. If you have special skills, special knowledge in a specific industry, target that industry. Make it your superpower. It really does help. Going in looking for city tax revenue could be interesting. Might be a little more work than it's worth, and you're not going to be able to target as well. Email from or a video from Joe Cyber here. That would probably be a good one to check out. Building referral. Okay, this is another thing that I did want to talk about because referrals traditionally in this industry have done very, very well. Okay. The problem is that it's gotten harder. Now, it's really because there are more MSPs out there and more MSPs who are business owners rather than technical owners, if that makes sense. I think you guys probably get that. And so what you have to do, don't ditch referrals. I think referrals are still very strong, but you just can't count on them to happen naturally. You kind of have to move them along. And so you have to have a specific program for asking for referrals and incentivizing referrals and making sure that you follow up with referrals. So it's really just creating a process so that you can generate more of those referrals. That's all I'm saying. If you don't have a process for it and you're just waiting for it to happen ad hoc, it's not going to work as well. And they do say they do reward referrals. Speaking is hard tonight. And you got to make them know that, right? When you close a client or when you go in for a QBR, make sure you're reminding them that you do have a rewards program for referrals. Somebody's being a little sarcastic. Congratulations on being the first person to ask that question here. Yeah, I mean, come on. We know that sales and marketing is one of the things that trips up a lot of MSPs simply because we're technicians first. And by the way, one of my biggest things about marketing is the quote or the phrase, you can't step in the same river twice. Absolutely 100% applies to marketing, because what worked today is not necessarily what's going to work tomorrow. And so this topic does need to come up time and time again. Cold calling and emailing will work, but requires a lot of consistent follow-up to work. And yes, and the hit rate is much lower. But the way you get that hit rate up is to do more follow-up and to be more targeted. So that's a key. And there's a video out for that one. I'm not sure who Commander RJ45 is, but hey, go check out the video. And, not a lot of comments on this one yet. I expect there'll probably be more comments coming up, but we'll see how that goes. Leaving PAX 8. This one's interesting to me because there's been a lot of grumbling about PAX 8 lately. I'm not going to go into detail. You guys probably know more than I do about that. But, I would say take all that with a grain of salt, and some of the stuff that I've heard, it's like these things happen, people. You need to prepare for them. That's why I always say you should add 10 to 15% on top of your costing when you're doing your pricing, so that you can account for vendors raising prices or adding fees or doing stuff. I mean, Microsoft, if you want to stay on month to month, it's going to cost you more now. So, you've got to have some of those things built in. It also works really well when you want to swap out a stack item. You don't have to go ask the client if you can swap out a stack item, even if it's a little more expensive, because you already have that 10 to 15% in there. And then when it comes time for their renewal, you're just like, hey, we included this, during your midterm, but now, we're raising your costs to get back to our normal profit levels. Hey, business owners understand that everybody needs to make their profit margin. Integrating a call center to an MSP, don't want to really talk about that. How do people last more than 2 years at an MSP? Yeah, it can be stressful. No human in their rational mind could handle such a place unless they're getting commission per project, paid above national average, or not confident in their skill set, or very rare, they truly enjoy challenges / grind. Yet I see people who have been at an MSP for 5 to 15 years. How on earth do they put up with that grind on a constant basis? So I think there is an aspect of some people just enjoy the grind. There's an argument to be made, however, that it's probably not good for them mentally, emotionally, or relationally. So it's probably not sustainable. As life changes, it's probably hard to do, but I would say this is really something where I don't know if it's been addressed a lot in the MSP world, because we tend not to have that many employees per MSP. But I think it's something we do need to look at, because the mental health and employee retention is going to be very important as we move forward as an industry and mature. Now, I think larger MSPs probably already have a model for this, right? They've already looked at the data. They've already looked at what their technicians can handle and what their workloads should look like to have a proper work-life balance. That's not going to happen by nature at a small MSP. So if you are a small MSP owner and you want to properly look out for your employees, I would say that this is something you want to take a look at, because best case scenario, you're going to lose some employees to other MSPs who are taking a look at this. Worst case scenario, they're going to burn out while they're still working for you. And even if they don't intentionally do it, they could be sabotaging your business just because of the mental and emotional suffering that they're going through. Oh, this is an interesting one that I haven't looked into because I just saw the headlines on this today. There's a new FTC rule about how subscriptions and recurring charges have to be handled, so that you have to have a click to cancel type of capability. Now, I imagine that this probably only applies to larger businesses, and therefore I think there's going to be a threshold that most MSPs are going to fall under to not have to follow this rule. But it'll be interesting to see what this looks like, because I know a lot of MSPs prefer a month-to-month type of situation. And I'm going to be very interested in seeing what this means for MSPs on, recurring contracts, specifically the ones that are month to month. I think in general, this applies more to SaaS type companies and subscriptions, because how are they going to do this with magazine subscriptions that auto renew? So there's probably some room for some interesting things here. Let's take a look at the comments just quickly. Nothing which for us would change. We don't deal with consumers. Oh, that could be, if it is limited to consumers. Yeah. The only people that it might apply to in terms of MSPs would be if they're doing recurring contracts with residential customers. So that's something, if you are one of those white glove residential MSPs, which I believe there is opportunity in, I think that's something that you should look at. Kaseya is watching closely. But again, if it's only B2C and it's not B2B, then Kaseya probably doesn't have anything to worry about. Okay, I like this one. They can't click to subscribe to our services, so they can't click to cancel. Kind of a head in the sand comment there. All right. Okay, well, I did promise that this was going to be a short one tonight, and I am going to stick to that promise. I really do appreciate you guys joining me tonight for this brief episode of All Things MSP Live, and an early episode as well. Next week, we will be back with a regular episode, and can't wait to see you then. Thanks a lot.